And filming. Righto team, good evening and welcome to day 4 of Sampey Builds Microhouse version 2, whatever we're calling it. I didn't film yesterday because by the time I finished it was low light. I was going to have a big day, but I woke up early in the morning ready to have my big day and was just still utterly knackered after my rather long week, so took most of the day off and then did a few hours at the end of the day. By the time I finished what I was doing, it was darker than it is now, so today I thought we'd stop and film before I finish my work day so that we've got the light to do so. Right, so this is the bottom of the roof frame. I've just dumped over here to use as a workboard while I'm doing various bits and pieces. That's yet to be cut down and turned into the new door. Here's some old sections of wall that got cut down. So I'm an idiot, and what I forgot when designing my 2400 by 1200 sheet sized walls, or at least one rear wall, was that the only sheets of ply I have left out of my recycled version 1 build that are 2400 by 1200 are the floor and the roof. All the other ones, there is an end wall. The end wall's got a bunch of holes in it for vents and things, so I didn't want to use that for my main wall there. I'm going to use that for scrap ply and fill in wood and stuff, and that left me with the 4 sheets that made the side walls. So I'm like, oh, that's good, I got 4 sheets and I only need 2. Well, that's the problem. As you can see, the tops of those sheets are cut on an angle because I had roof pitch in the last design. So of course I went to put a sheet in, I had all my caulking down ready to go, dropped it in place, went, hang on, it's off by like 200 at one end on the bottom and 200 on the top, and I realised, oh that's right, I've got a bloody angle in this fucking thing. So I smeared off my caulking, double sealed the joint, let it dry while I cut down 2 different sheets into 2 1200 by 1200 panels to create the wall, which is over here. So this is partly yesterday's work and partly today's. As you can see, this construction's a little bit more complex than some of the stuff we've been doing, so this is the most sort of time-consuming part. Most of these sort of gaps in between the shelves and stuff are filled in with little chocks and blocks and things like that to give more rigidity to the shelves, but primarily to give the wall something to anchor to. They're also anchored to the shelves, so the whole unit sort of works together, but it's not stressing the shelves as much as they used to be. As you can see out there's a few gaps. I'm still a bodgy as hell builder, but the thing's solid, so that's good. Shut up. Anyway, what we did was where the joint, the sheet split is on the other side of this wall, we caulked between it, and then I added this vertical unit. Goes up through the shelf and jams in there. These ones are neatly cut, I need them nice and tight for this to work well, so I did that. Went up through there, and then up through here, and the sheets are anchored to that vertical piece of wood, which is also anchored to that shelf a little bit and stuff like that. The idea being that if I ever do strip this unit apart again, which is very unlikely, somewhat like the version 1 but even better, this one actually, though it goes together with the sheets all in one and it's stressed skin and stuff, when you take the sheets off you're left with a skeleton frame. Most times when you build your floor first and then you put your frame on it and then you clad it, but that's when you've got more than one guy on site. That's a very, very difficult proposition for someone just working by themselves most of the time like me. So what I did instead was we used bookcases and things like that to give us something to sort of jig off of. And then as you can see, we put up a whole wall like this with the bookcase and stuff, and now as I'm working out from there, did a little bit of clever cutting. If you remember from the early construction, we did this bodgy job of cutting a notch into these bits of wood so they'd fit into those shelves to make the main runners for the old mezzanine. So what I've done is chopped them off, modified them and cut some more parts out so they fit neatly and dovetail into my framing there along the floor. This is yet to be trimmed off to the proper length. To make, you know, additional framing and so forth. So as I say, the bookcase and the strut framing, this stuff here, once you take the cladding off, that makes its own little skeleton, which can also be partially disassembled and stuff, although there is a lot of caulking, acrylic sealant stuff being used in this build. It's not designed to come apart like the old one. It is designed to be picked up by 2 or 3 dudes and put on a trailer to be moved. I can modify it by doing things like cutting whole sections of ply in unstressed areas like over there out, and replacing them with plastic or windows or whatever the hell else I want to do. So the attempt to pin these 2 doors together didn't go too well actually. It's okay now, but what happened was I lay them on the sheet with a little gap between them, squirted a bunch of caulking between, squished them together, lined them up where I wanted them, and then I drilled a bunch of piloting holes as you can see, sort of here and here, straight in with a big drill bit, and then I laid my screw in on an angle, and went in through the sides, and lots of angle screws from both directions, pinning it all together, and then some big long 100mm screws either end, X shape, sort of pinning it together. And then I went to lift it and pick it up, and they almost split apart and did a lot of wood splitting on the other side and shit like that. So obviously the screws haven't gone far enough through, and this is quite soft wood, so that's not a very effective way to do it. However, what I did was I split it, I left it sort of a bit flexed inside, it opened up the gap on the other side a bit, so I squirted more cork into that, filled it all up with rubber, and then I lay a sheet of, where's my offcut? This is just trimmed off one end. This is an old piece of wall section that just was beside the door on the version 1, so on the other side of that join there's a strip of this, the full length, screwed and pinned both sides, so there's a strap basically, whole length of that, holding everything in place with a bunch of sealant underneath it. And then I flipped it back over, pulled all these screws out, re-corked it, and then retightened the screws to get everything lined up and stuck together. And combination of that strap on the back, all the screws and the corking, once it's all dry, that'll be rigid enough for me to continue using it as a single module once it's bolting into place in this area here. So that's where we're at with construction so far. Estimates so far on this wall, we're calling it the shade wall, it's the wall that doesn't have any windows in it. I have lost approximately 15 to 10 to 20% of the weight in comparison to the V1. Actually probably more like 30, because we're half the sheet size as well. Bookcases have been shrunk down and stuff, although there is some additional framing added to them a little bit. We've lost probably 5 to 10% of the weight off them. And then as we work into these end walls and stuff, because the way this structure is still a stress skin structure, but the way it's working is a little different to the old one. So yeah, overall it looks like I should be hitting my target of losing about 60% of the original weight, and obviously we're going down to half the size and half the volume, which makes it a lot easier to move around and do stuff like that. Like today when I wanted to access that wall, I mean obviously we're not fully built yet, so I've got no real estimate of the weight, but I was able to very easily by myself just pick up this edge, and these are two of the heaviest components, is that floor and the framing section for that wall. Just picked it up, shifted it along on the tiles to pull it away from the fence line a little bit, so I could get in there and screw all my wall panels in and do all my gluing and all the rest of it. So yeah, piece of pie. It's pretty easy. So today the other thing I wanted to do, I have a bit of a beer here. Beer break, always important. Tasty beer. Let's talk about tools. This is not a tool, it's a cigarette. Let's put that over there. Okay, so the other day I showed you this awesome Irwin hammer driver bit that did about 1500 screws before it exploded. This on the other hand is one I borrowed off a mate, and as you can see that flatness on the tip there, that's the whole tip. As you can see, it's just sort of like twisted slightly and stuff. The whole tip has ripped off inside a screw. And I went through 2 or 3 like this that friends had loaned me, because everyone's got these things lying around in their toolbox, doing this to them, ripping tips off, exploding them, stuff like that. And before I said to my bro Rob that I live with, I was like, dude, we're going to go to Bunnings or a hardware store and get some more of these things. What I found when we went to Mitre 10 actually, because it's a little bit closer, is this same brand, same drill bit. Check it out, double-ended. So I've got 4 for the price of, I think that one cost me about $4 or $5, and this was about $8 for this packet, so much better deal. What I also bought was, where's my power driver? Oh, it's over here. What I also bought just to test it out was another brand, which as you can see has got a bit of wear and tear on it, but it's doing well. Hasn't cammed off on me yet or exploded. It's a little silveried and muntified. You can't really see in the video there, but take my word for it, it's doing good. And you know, these things here, like the cheapo ones or whatever, just out of somebody's toolbox, they're like tearing apart after 3 or 4 screws using a hammer driver. Even if I was trying to be gentle, trying to do all this stuff to just, you know, like reduce the load, nah, not happening, rip apart. The problem is, these are just random. They're probably not that great quality. I don't even know what brand it is. This, yeah, it's got no branding on. Oh no, there's some random code written on the side of it, but it's just some bollocks, you know, and you can actually see milling marks on it and stuff like this. So this isn't tool steel. This is just a bit of something that's been, you know, milled out to the shape. Now this stuff, on the other hand, is hardened tool steel. It's the shit. As is this. This was a different brand. I think it was GBH or GZH or something like that. And like an idiot, I've thrown out the packet because I actually intended to sort of do a product comparison for you. So far it's performing just as well as the Irwin. This one by itself cost about $4 or $5, so yeah, it's about the same as this one. And so far it's performing really, really well. These ones are still in their packet, but we know that each of those heads will do about 1,000 screws at least before it explodes. So the point being, I'm all for being a miserly bugger and doing stuff on the cheap, and recycling parts and doing all kinds of things like that. But one place not to skimp, where there is absolutely no sense in doing so, is in your tools. This isn't mine, I'm borrowing it off of mates, but it's about $250 for the original drill unit, and then another $60 or so for this hammer driver unit that goes with it. It is worth every freaking penny. Checked in the store the other day to see, because I'm using this a lot. If I blow it up, I'm going to have to buy them another one. It's going to cost me about $70-80. And over there you can see the drill head for it. It's got this clip out system. I pointed this out in the V1 videos. It's freaking genius. Get yourselves one of these if you're going to do this kind of construction, because sometimes you've got to drill pilot holes and stuff like that. So you just go clip, pull this out, and then I can probably show you one-handed. Hang on. Press on that. Nah, can't really do it one-handed. Oh Jesus, okay, let's try not to rip our hands up. Can't do that one-handed, but it does pop out very easily, and then the other one clips in. So you just clip a thing in, drill some holes, rip it out, throw the driver in, drill all your screws in. It's just so much quicker and easier, and it's a good quality bit of kit, which I may actually buy one of. I can't really afford stuff like that, but yeah, I might get one of those because it's just freaking awesome. And these, honestly, if I was to buy, multi-packs of these little shitty ones, it must be, $5-6 for a pack of 5 or something like that, maybe $1 or $2 each. But I can only drive 5 to 10 screws before they're bullshit and you got to throw them away. I'm thinking of making jewellery out of this shit because there's just so many of them. Whereas these ones will drive 1,000, and they only cost $4 or $5. And this is the point. So what you're looking for when you're buying stuff like this is impact. If you're going to use an impact driver, get impact rated stuff. That's the other thing. This one here, these little ones I've been using off mates and stuff, probably aren't impact driver rated. They cam off real easily and they just come apart. So yeah, good tools is good, and make sure you get the right ones. So get impact driver. The one on here had impact driver and it had industrial tough written on it and all kinds of stuff like that. If they're going to make claims like that on the packet, I can take it back in on warranty if it craps out on me. So like I said, industrial tough. I clearly am industrial tough on my tools. Some of them work, some of them don't. But anyway, I can absolutely vouch for this brand, Irwin, if you can get it. These cool ones here. Now the other thing I want to talk about, these are posi drives, called so because if you look at the front of them, they look like a plus. The screws they go into look like a plus. It's posi drive. Most builders use square drive. So when you look at the top head of the screw, it's got this recess in it that's shaped in a square, oddly enough, because it's called a square drive. And the tool that impacts it as well is square drive as well. They are vastly superior. They are very less likely to cam off on you and bounce out and rip apart and tear and do various other bad things you don't want them to do. So especially if you're doing construction like this where you want to pull things apart, put them back together and make everything modular and do stuff like that, please, for God's sake, use square drive. I started with posi drive because I'm used to it. And when I went to buy screws, it was actually a bit more expensive to get the posi drive gear, and it was just something I was unfamiliar with. And I'm one of those people, once I'm used to doing something, I like to keep doing it that way. It's a bad habit I picked up from tattoo. You've got a machine that you like and you're just like, I want to keep doing it this way. And that's why it took so fucking long for tattoo as a community to convert over to using 4th and 5th and 6th generation rotary machines, which are vastly superior in many ways, but everyone's just sort of set in their ways. No, I like these machines, I'm gonna stick with this, which is fine and good, but it isn't actually, and it was a bit stubborn of me to go with posi drive. The reason I'm sticking with it for now is because I built V1 with posi drive screws, and I have an entire massive box of them over there, and there's about 100 already, or 200 already put in today, and it costs me less to buy more of these, which, because of the nature of them, are more likely to cam off and come apart. But now I've got 4 of them instead of the one that did the entirety of V1 and the strip down. So I'm not going to have any more problems with breaking screws or running out of drivers to use. But the other reason is all of those screws from V1. So basically, if I was to buy posi driver bits, sorry, not posi driver, these are posi driver bits, buy square driver bits and square drive screws, that would cost me a hell of a lot more than the $8 it cost me to buy this pack of screwdrivers. So that's the only reason I'm sticking with posi drive. I absolutely recommend you go for square drive. It's genius. There's a reason builders and industry people, window glazers, like everybody in industry building shit uses square drive these days. It's just this shit. My bro I live with here uses it for all his construction work, and I've watched him doing it, and you can just give it death. and they don't break, they don't cam out, they don't go to shit. Cam out, by the way, is when a screw bit is driving into a screw, and then it sort of locks out and bounces around through the thing. It comes out through the screw bit, and it's called camming off, because it starts camming off the driver itself. This is one of the ones that, yeah, this cammed off to the point where it ripped off the tip. But camming off, you know, bends the driver blades and stuff like that, and just shits them out a bit. So anyway, yeah, point, square drive is good, posi drive not so good. So if you're able to get square drive, get it for this kind of thing. Anyway, I'm going to carry on building now until the sun goes down properly, and I'll upload this video for today, for once. So our videos are on time now, or on the same day now, which is cool. And tomorrow's video, we'll have some more progress from what I've done today and whatever I've done that day as well, assuming the weather holds. It's been a really nice hot sunny day today, so hopefully that all works out. I'm going to go back to my beer and my cigarette break, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.